Welcome to Getting Sketchy Live, brought to you by thevirtualinstructor.com. And now, let's get sketchy.
Hello there, everyone. Welcome to Getting Sketchy Live, the greatest live broadcast in all of YouTube. It's been a while. It's been a couple weeks, and we're glad to see you all with us this evening as we go into episode 9.
9, that's right.
Episode 9 of season 14. Tonight, Ashley's going to be doing the drawing, and we're going to be working with graphite pencils, and we're going to be working on a special paper called B Stipple paper. Now, the name of the company that makes the paper is B, and the type of surface is called Stipple paper. It's an interesting surface to work on, a heavily textured surface, so it should be quite a wild ride this evening. If you're watching this live on YouTube, of course, there is a chat box. You can post comments and questions. If you do have a comment or question that's specifically directed at Ashley or I, if you'll put that as in a super chat, we actually use the super chat function. That will prominently display your comment or question and help us see it a little bit easier. But it does cost a little bit of money, but that will go to help out our broadcast, of course, that I think most of you guys enjoy. Well, let's just see how Ashley's doing this evening. How are you doing this evening, Ashley?
I'm doing great, Matt. Thanks for asking. I hope you folks are doing well. Hey, I missed being here with you last week, but I'm ready to draw with you tonight, and I hope you're ready to follow along. We're just working on paper with pencils. Even if you don't have the B paper, just work with what you have, and we'll see if we can make a great drawing tonight. Absolutely. And Ashley and I, before the show, we were talking about both of our misadventures we've had this past week. We both had misadventures. That's why we need to spend more time together. Yeah. Because when we're apart, things go crazy. Right.
But anyway, in both circumstances, our misadventures both mine turned out to be very positive.
Mine's turning out to be positive. So,
but that's good.
Yeah, I'll continue filling you in.
All right, good. Obviously, we had a limited amount of time to talk before we got live, but that's our business that we'll talk about later. Let's see, what are all the things I need to say? Oh, first of all, if you are interested in art, if you like to draw or paint or do any of those things, then watching YouTube videos is just not enough. You need to go over to thevirtualinstructor.com and check out all we have to offer over there. I mean, the premier part of the program is we have a membership program over there. That includes drawing and painting courses on just about every medium and subject matter you can imagine. We do weekly live lessons. There are class series over there. There is over 1,500 instructional videos that are premium videos only. So that doesn't include the free videos that I put out on YouTube. I just counted those videos the other day. That's why I know the number. There's also a year-long curriculum for visual arts teachers. So if you're an art teacher, all the resources you need to teach for an entire year, that's handouts, PowerPoint presentations, videos, all of that is included. Even tests and assessments are all part of it. All of that is part of the membership program over at thevirtualinstructor.com. We also offer the courses individually. So if you just want to buy a course or two outside of the membership, you can absolutely do that. If you want to learn more about the program, you can click on the link in the description below this video and check it out. Everyone starts with a week-long trial for free. Beyond that, we offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. We want to make sure everybody that's in the program wants to be there, of course, and can do it at that time in their life. So anyway, check that out. Also, if you are wanting to check out just 3 of the course videos and ebooks for free, not the entire courses, but just a little bit of it, there's a link in the description below for that as well. That will put you on our mailing list. I will send you a lot of free art lessons through your email. So check that out if you're not on the newsletter list already. And one more thing, if you like this kind of stuff that we're doing here on YouTube, make sure that you subscribe to the channel and click on the notification bell so you're notified when we go live and when I post the static videos that I do from time to time. We've got a super chat there from Jan, and Jan says, been missing you, look forward to the night. Well, we've been missing you too, Jan. I will give you the cheer once everything calms down. If I remember, I will try my best to remember. All right, Ashley, do you have anything else, or are you ready to get started?
I noticed that Brenda has guessed my song.
Already?
So, yeah, great job, Brenda. It's not even white.
I don't even know what the song is.
It's a brown rabbit, but it's inspired by the Jefferson Airplane song, Go Ask Alice About the White Rabbit. So
okay.
I listened to a lot of classic rock growing up because those are the records my dad had. So they were around the house, and this is one of them. I listened to a lot of Jefferson Airplane.
Yeah, some people who are watching this are like, "What records? What are records?
Records.
Are those permanent records? Are those government records?" Anyway, all right. I tell you what, let's go ahead and switch over and get into this because I think we've talked enough.
Let's do it.
That's the wrong camera angle. But it's good to see you guys again. Let's try that again.
All right. The button pusher.
Yeah, strikes again.
Strike one. Okay, so if you don't know the song I'm talking about, then your song tonight can be "Here Comes Peter Cottontail." And, choosing our images based on song lyrics, it's been wearing on me a little bit. So this one, I do have a song, and Brenda did guess it. But this one was really inspired by a little rabbit, a bunny, a hare, if you will, in my backyard. So this summer, I have made friends with a wild rabbit. It's been surprising, actually, because I have a cat, and I'm worried to death that the cat is going to get my rabbit.
You're just friends with all kinds of
Lately,
wildlife, aren't you?
Lately, I'm telling you what.
Your friend group is they're all mammals, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's good.
They're all
no
mammals.
reptiles.
No reptiles. No.
Not
fish,
yet, anyway.
No
Yeah.
fish anymore. I used to have fish, but this little rabbit is in my backyard every morning and evening, and I hit golf balls in my backyard, and the rabbit would run away, and then gradually he stopped running all the way away and would just watch me, and now he doesn't pay any attention to me. I can kind of walk around him and pick up golf balls, and he just keeps munching on the grass. So it's been nice. So I know the image looks a little bit like the cover of a Hallmark card, but it is inspired by the rabbit in my backyard and also the Jefferson Airplane song. So tonight we will be using the B paper, the stipple paper. It looks really smooth, but it's got quite a texture to it, almost like a speckly pattern, a little bit like pixels. You can think of it as looking a little bit like pixels. I have a kneaded eraser. We'll probably use that some. Have an electric eraser that's actually missing the end somewhere in my studio area, but it still works. And I'll probably be using this black Factus eraser. I like these because they leave a little bit less shavings than the pink erasers that I usually use. So we're going to stick with those for our erasers tonight. And I'm going to start with an HB pencil, which is just, I don't know if you can see the HB there. It's a Kimberly pencil, and it's the same as a number 2 pencil. So if you have a yellow number 2 pencil, it would be comparable in darkness or weight. I have an ebony pencil, a General's layout version. Their layout pencils are like other brands' ebony pencils. And I also have a Blackwing pencil. And I'm not sure which I'm going to reach for, probably the ebony pencil. But one of these two will be our darker pencil that we'll do most of our shading with. So pretty straightforward in terms of our supplies. Sort of the only oddball is the paper itself. So we'll get to see what these marks look like on this B brand stipple paper. I always want to call it B paper, but B is the brand. It's stipple paper. So let's see. And just in terms of the reference, let's just talk about that for a minute. There's good contrast in terms of value on our rabbit and on the plants that are around them. But there's really not a whole lot of contrast in value between the lighter values in our rabbit and the color, or the value of the color in the background. So you get a good contrast because of the color relationship, but we're not drawing in color. We're drawing in black and white. So we may have to push those values apart a little bit and leave the lighter portions of our rabbit even lighter, and or go a bit darker in the background than what we see in the reference, just so we don't lose the rabbit, the lighter shapes of our rabbit in the background. So that's a little bit of a change that we'll make, a little bit of an adjustment from the reference. And I could have changed that, manipulated it a little bit in Photoshop, but I thought it might be nice just to use our imaginations together and push those values apart the old-fashioned way with our brains and not with Photoshop. So I think that's about it. Are there any questions? Oh, the size.
The size. And if you'll tell them the paper size, I do need to address a couple other things too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the paper ratio is 4:5. So you could use any size you want to that is 4:5 in terms of the ratio, but my paper size is 4.5 inches wide and 5.625 inches tall. So about 5 2/3 inches tall, if that's easier for you.
Nice
So,
and easy.
I know, right? So 4.5 wide and 5 2/3 inches tall. And there's not really a mark on your ruler for that. I want to say the height was 141 centimeters, or I'm sorry, millimeters, but I don't remember the width. So I guess that's no help. So you're going to have to use the standard system if you want your paper to be exactly the same size. But if you want to make it easy, just do 4 inches wide by 5 inches tall, because that's the ratio. And your paper will be just a little bit smaller than mine, but the ratio will be the same.
Okay, just a couple things. First of all, it appears that I set the time for this live broadcast to start to 6 o'clock instead of 6:30. I am very sorry for that. YouTube provides a drop-down menu, and when I did it this morning, I must have slid off the mouse at 6 o'clock. I'm sorry I did that. That was an honest mistake. And the second thing is, a couple of people mentioned that they were dropping frames, and I do see that we have been dropping frames. I don't know why that's the case. It doesn't, to my knowledge, we don't have an internet connection issue, but we'll continue on, and I'll continue to monitor the issue. I don't know if there's anything I can do about it, but yeah, if you do see a little bit of stuttering or anything, you don't need to adjust your computer set.
It looks like it's stabilized a little bit, but hopefully that'll remain the same.
Yeah, it's been stabilizing and then dropping, but we'll see what happens.
All right.
There's a couple other questions. Charles asked, would it have been beneficial to change the reference to black and white?
I'm glad Charles asked that, because I almost did that myself. I thought the same thing myself, but when we draw from life, we're drawing from color and we're translating it into black and white. So I went ahead and stuck with the color reference so we can continue to work on training our eyes to see through the color and into that value that sometimes organizes our pictures. So good question. And we're just going to tough it out and try to convert this from color to black and white with our eyes.
And working from a color photo, even though you're creating a black and white drawing, does up the challenge a little bit. And by challenging yourself, you actually get better quicker. So it's not, it's a good idea to take the color out of references if you're, really struggling and you're really wanting to work on recognizing, first, just being accustomed to seeing and recognizing values. But then when you start to, move on from that, it is a good idea to practice from color photos every once in a while so that you can hone those skills a little bit further.
All right, very good. Thanks for backing me up there.
All right, you are...
I put a couple marks down.
Yeah.
Got a couple marks
Are
in there,
you cheating?
No.
Okay.
Just studying.
All right, gotcha.
All right, well, if that's it, I guess we'll go ahead and start the clock.
All right.
And begin our drawing.
All right. And another thing, I noticed that people have these little crowns and numbers by their name. I have no idea what that is. If somebody in the chat can tell me why some people have crowns and numbers.
I'm not.
Maybe
not
it's
sure.
just.
Is it like a special club?
Yeah, there's some people in the club here. There's Jan, there's Smooth Artist, Mary Elizabeth Alone World. Looked like June had one of those crowns and a number by her name.
All right, so I'm starting with a shape that's kind of like an oval. Maybe it's just a little bit more irregular, but I'm just going to try to use a couple of broad shapes to figure out the mass of our rabbit's body.
You know what? I just figured out what it is. It up in the upper right hand corner, it says top fans. So these people are our top fans. Yes,
I love that.
Jan is number one. He's got the number one crown right now. I like that. We got a little competition between the fans there.
Yeah. Okay, so pretty round body. We've added a few little angles to it so far. And I want to go ahead and find our ears, approximately where they're going to be. So the ear that's on our right is almost in the, its right edge is almost in the middle of our paper. So if we find where we think the middle is, And that we can use that as a guide for approximately where this ear on our right is going to land. Maybe his ear's a little tall. Maybe it's not tall enough. I don't know what kind of rabbit this is exactly. I'm just thinking about the space I'm leaving between the edge of the picture plane and the top of the ear to help me with its size. Let's see, and the ear on the right comes out from behind the head, the back of the head a little bit above the nose. So this is where our nose is going to be. I'll come up a little bit from there and then move over to try to find where our ear is going to meet our rabbit's head.
All right. Buddy says, I'm still having trouble seeing the values through colors no matter how hard I try. I just a lack of practice, or any suggestions? Yeah, it really is just a lack of practice. I mean, one thing that you can do is you can kind of work your way up the steps of the value scale. So you can first look for the darkest values and just identify the values that are the darkest compared to the values that you see. Then move up a step and say, well, what are the next to darkest values? And start identifying the shapes that they make and the locations within the piece where you see them. And you just kind of work your way up the value scale. Like on this here, you can see that the dark values are predominantly on the back of the animal.
Very distinct. That makes it easy for us.
On the back side of the ear. And then you can find the next step up, that are slightly lighter. And I would say the left side of the face is where we see most of those values. Hopefully you can see that. Then we'll work to the next step up. And if we look on the lower part of the face, underneath the whiskers there on the front of the body, underneath the chest, that's where we start seeing values that are a little bit lighter. And then we can just work our way up. So, anything that is a skill that you have to learn, for some people are going to learn those skills quickly and they're going to need less practice. But sometimes people need to practice a little bit more to get a good understanding of that concept or that skill. So yeah, you might need more practice doing it, but I'm telling you, if you just practice a little bit each day, and you don't have to be drawing to practice, you can look at your surroundings around you and start trying to analyze the values that you see and where those values line up on the value scale. And that's just essentially training your brain without actually having to make marks or anything like that. So you can practice drawing anywhere you are at any time, just as long as you're not driving or something like that.
Not yet.
Anytime that you can put focus on what you see and you start to kind of analyze it as an artist would, that is training your brain to be a better artist.
So you can see in the broader shapes that I started with that were kind of loose and ovally, I've gone back and looked for the smaller changes in contour as the second pass across those contours. So I could have tried to find these convex and concave portions of this contour from the beginning, but I was thinking more about size at first, trying to separate the specificity of the contours from the volume of our rabbit, just to make it a little bit easier. Split those into two steps.
Let's see. Got a couple questions about the stipple paper. So Ashley can continue to draw. I'm going to explain it to you.
Okay.
Stipple paper is basically, you can kind of think of it as a paper with a bunch of little tiny pimples on it. There's basically little tiny, I guess, raised circles.
Yeah, just little tiny bumps.
Yeah. So if you go over the top of the paper lightly with like a 4B pencil or a 2B pencil, what's going to happen is you're going to really see and notice the texture of the paper, and it kind of resembles a stipple drawing with the little raised sections become more like white dots, but it is that's basically, I feel like, a good description of the paper. It's a unique paper. It might be hard to find, but it does exist. And it looks like we are really dropping frames.
Oh, goodness. I hate that.
It looks like we might have lost connection altogether, actually. It's picking back up now.
Okay.
I don't know what is going on here.
There's no storms.
There's no storms right now. Yeah, it is kind of similar to canvas paper, Samuel. Yeah, pebbly texture is a good way to describe it there, Michelle. Thank you for that. Smooth Artist asks, is it possible for someone who knows how to draw with pencils to paint or use watercolor? Absolutely. Oh, yeah. It is the same type of principles that we use when we draw are the same type of principles we use when we paint. You're just using a different medium to accomplish that. For example, you can draw with a pencil holding it a different way, and you can use the broad tip of the pencil to make thicker or fatter marks. When you're using a brush, you can use a small, precise round brush to make marks that might resemble a pencil, but you can also use a flat brush or a bright brush or a filbert brush or any of those other types of shapes to make a variety of different marks or cover more surface area on which you're painting. So absolutely, yes. In fact, anyone who's wanting to learn how to paint, I encourage them to learn how to draw first. A lot of painters don't want to hear that. A lot of people who want to paint, they feel like drawing is a skill that maybe you have to have a talent for first, and they don't really understand that painting is really drawing, and they're really the same type of mentality that you have to have. It's just a different medium that you're applying to the surface, and you're doing so in a different way too. But drawing and painting is something that happens in your mind, and your body does what your mind tells it to do. So it's not, even though we're making marks with our hands and our arms, it's really what happens between our ears that determines our success with art, with visual art.
Michelangelo said something like that once.
Yeah. Michelangelo said, "A man paints with his brains, not with his hands," and that's one of my favorite quotes.
All right, so we've roughed in the outlines with little wiggly, sharp, pointy marks, and then I'm just going to indicate about where the grass is going to be, and of course, lots of texture in the grass. We'll see how much we're able to capture, but we'll be moving on to value here in just a moment.
Yeah, we are dropping frames. I'm not really sure why. I'm not sure if that's an issue with our connection to YouTube, because we do connect to YouTube. Sometimes, most of the time, it's pretty easy and it's not an issue. But every once in a while, we'll have these cases where we have dropped frames. It'll be really a good test to see in our next hour when we do our live broadcast for the members if there's issues there. That, of course, is not through YouTube. So if YouTube is getting overrun with if their servers are getting overrun, that could possibly cause an issue with our connection. Guys, I don't really know what's going on, but it seems like our internet here is as normal as it usually is.
Normal on our end.
Yeah, but I am seeing that frames are being dropped, so I appreciate you guys staying around like you are. We got a question. Is this paper like Canson Mitant's pastel paper? No, it's different.
It's much finer in texture.
Yeah, it has a much finer texture. And it almost has a little bit of wax in it. It feels like the paper has kind of a waxy feel to it.
It almost feels like plastic to me.
Yeah.
I was trying to see if we could...
And you might be zoomed in a little too close.
Okay.
It looks a little blurry.
Trying to catch some of those dimples, some of those
texture.
Dots. They should show up in the darker areas for you folks.
So working on this paper with pastels is not going to be a suggestion I would make for you because of kind of the waxy or, like Ashley said, plasticky feeling that the surface has. The Canson Mitant's pastel paper, however, is very receptive of pastels. And the Mitant's paper, the texture is not so much of a regular pattern compared to the Stipple paper. The Stipple paper has a more regular pattern, a tighter pattern. And if you want to learn more about the Stipple paper, I do have a video on YouTube on the stipple paper. And I think the name of the title of the video is Stippling Without Dots.
Let the paper do the work.
Let's see. Brenda says, I did the 25 days to better drawings and went from there. If I can do it, anyone can. Oh, if I can do it, anyone can. I now use pretty much any medium, been concentrating on watercolor for the past year and a half. And Brenda, that's exactly what we want people to get from the courses. We want them to learn and then apply what they learn to making their own art or exploring whatever medium they want to. So thank you for that, Brenda. That's definitely a success story. Smooth Artist says, can you guys draw a lion with colored pencils in the future, please? Maybe so. Good. This season we are, a lion is a pretty complex subject and colored pencils is a pretty time-intensive medium. So drawing a lion with colored pencils would take a lot longer than 45 minutes that we have here on Gettin Sketchy, if we did it right, of course. So we do choose the subjects that we're gonna do here as part of Gettin Sketchy, and also the medium that we're working with based on the time that we have to do it as part of the show. So, well,
that's what we try to do.
Yeah, we try to do.
Sometimes
I've cheated
we get
a couple
ourselves
times
into trouble.
Yeah. If you're interested in some of those more developed drawings and paintings, over at the Virtual Instructor, we do weekly live classes, and those are spread out over, or the entire creation process of creating a piece of art is spread out over several lessons. So we might have a series where we have 10 one-hour-long lessons that show you the complete creation process of a piece of art. And that what you're requesting there, Smooth Artist, sounds more like what we would do in those situations. So probably not something that we'll see on Gettin Sketchy, but
maybe in a live class.
Yeah, in a live class, yeah.
All right, just been working in the head for a little bit for the last 4 minutes or so, just trying to find a value range that we can spread around our rabbit, our hare. Is this a hare?
Well, you named it a hare, and I put it as a hare in the thing. So I think
it's a hare.
Its eyes look hairy. You know what I mean. Yeah. It looks like a hare's eyes. Let's see. And yeah, someone pointed out to Smooth Artist that I did do a lion in charcoal for Gettin Sketchy. Charcoal is a quick medium, unlike colored pencils. Colored pencils is a slow medium. And let's see. Charles says, besides pencils, what else can be used with stipple paper? Well, I used, let's see, what did I use? I think I used the matte black pencils when I did the video. So anything that's not going to be powdery. So any medium that is not powdery is going to be appropriate for this surface. So you can use pen and ink, but I really think this medium is best suited for dark material that has a binder that is relatively rigid, and the material is not going to fall apart on the surface when you apply it. So that would eliminate charcoal and pastel and mediums like that. But mediums like graphite, carbon pencil, that kind of stuff is probably suitable for this.
Did you mention
surface.
Using colored pencils? Have you ever tried
colored
that?
pencils would probably be okay for this surface. The only issue I would see with colored pencils is the fact that the texture of this paper is the most important part of the paper.
That's right.
And with colored pencils, typically you want to layer the material, and in most cases you layer the material to the point where the surface of the paper is no longer noticeable.
Totally covered.
Right. So you're using the tooth of the paper with colored pencils basically to allow you to put multiple layers, but eventually you cover up the tooth of the paper. Where with this paper, you don't want to put so much material on the surface that you lose the texture of the paper. The texture of the paper is what makes the art that you create on it unique. So it's not just a foundation, but it's also part of the appearance that's created because of the surface. hopefully that makes sense.
Well, and choosing your surface is one of your choices, one of your artistic choices. It's a big choice for painters, oil and acrylic painters, whether they want a rougher weave or a finer weave. And, it could be just as big of a decision to make for us when we're drawing as well.
Yeah, it's the foundation. I mean, it's your foundation.
It's like in sports, sometimes choosing your equipment, it's a choice that is reflected in what appears to be your performance.
Okay, Buddy's got a question for you. Ashley,
right.
Are you just putting value down without too much hassling with the texture?
Yes.
A bit like underpainting, studying underpainting on one of Matt's pastel lessons. That's why I'm asking. Okay.
Yes, I'm mostly focusing on the value rather than the texture of the rabbit right now. I mean, there's a lot of fur in here, and I thought about working with this for a while. I entertained the idea of working in color and trying to work up more of the texture in the light, which we haven't even really addressed yet. And there's so much texture elsewhere in the plant and in the grass that really focusing mostly on values. And I just want to get the values in place as a sketch. And then, of course, we can address as much texture as we are able, given time. I like to think of texture as icing on a cake. And a lot of times when you're baking a cake, well, every time, I guess, you put the icing on last. That's kind of how I think of some of the texture sometimes. Save it for last. It's nice to have, but you don't need to have it in order to read a picture. But you have to have the values pretty close, pretty accurate.
Rennie says, Matt, your emails are great with the links to the instructions. Well, thank you there, Rennie. Faithful Servant has pointed out that they are new here. So if you guys want to welcome Faithful Servant, you can do that. Samuel says that he thinks the rabbit could be Brer Rabbit. Both are brown rabbits. I think this is a hare, though.
I don't know the difference.
I think hares are larger and have larger feet.
Okay. I feel like the rabbit in my backyard's a hare then, because he's big. A big boy.
Oh, really? We have no idea. June says, are you drawing in the direction of the hare, H-R-E?
Somewhat, yes.
I mean, H-A-R-E.
I'm also, your strokes are a little bit masked by the texture of the paper. So I'm actually just doing a lot of scribbling in different directions even, just to build up the value. And that's one thing that could be nice about the B paper, the B brand stipple paper, is that your strokes kind of melt together into the texture that it is by default built into your paper.
Now, Charles asks, are there different grades of the stipple paper? And I have not seen different grade, or I guess different grades of. Are there different grades of
I haven't
stipple?
either. Yeah, I haven't either.
I don't know if you're wondering if there are different weights of the paper, or I'm not really sure what he's asking there.
It's pretty heavy paper.
It is pretty heavy, yeah.
Just as far as the paper weight, but as far as the stipple goes, yeah, I don't know if there's like a lighter and heavier version of that. It's a good question. You can check that out. I want to say I don't remember seeing options when I ordered this paper.
Okay, Rennie says rabbits have short ears, hares are long-eared. So maybe this is a rabbit. Maybe this isn't a hare.
Would you consider these shorter ears? My ears too short.
Mary Elizabeth says, Matt, could you answer Faithful Servant's question? I will see if I can find it there. If you do have a question, if you put it in capital letters, if you're not going to use the super chat, put it in capital letters. That will help me see it. So I'm trying to go back and see Faithful Servant's question here. If you want to put that question in again, Faithful Servant, because the chat box gets going pretty quick, and I miss stuff, obviously. So
it's hard to go back sometimes.
Catherine says this is definitely a hare. All right, thank you.
Okay,
thank goodness. Because if I put in the time of the start of the show at 6 o'clock, and I called this a hare, I mean, I'm just a complete failure tonight. Push the wrong button. Brenda says Ashley did a charcoal on stipple paper in the style of Season. Can't remember the artist he was imitating. But I think
it was probably Surratt.
I think didn't you use Conte? Was it Conte or charcoal? I'm not sure if you used charcoal on that. I could see Conte working on this surface. Charcoal, I feel like, would be a little bit more of a challenge.
I can't remember now. I mean, I might have chosen charcoal. I don't always make the best decisions. But I think it was based on the artwork of Surratt, maybe, because his charcoal sketches are so distinct because of the paper that he used. Alrighty, we're going to need to leave our rabbit behind for just a little while. Back to him. At least he's got some value.
Now you're still working with the HB pencil at this point, right?
Still working with the HB. All right, let's go ahead and get a little something in our background, and then we'll continue to move down. So for the background, I think I'll go ahead and switch to a general layout pencil. And I'm going to kind of put it in an patchy way. Not because I want it to look patchy, but I want my strokes to mix and melt together. So I don't want to work in rows and then see those rows. So I'm going to just put patches in and then go back and keep working in the spaces that I've missed. And remember, we're going to get maybe just a little bit darker in our background.
Well, I am trying to find
what's going on over there.
Yeah, I'm on my phone.
He's multitasking.
I'm trying to find the series there where Ashley used the stipple paper last, and so I'm going to the website. And in the process, of course, YouTube video is in the process of watching started playing. Let's see here. I'll find out exactly if it was Conte or charcoal, but
okay.
Like I said, I would suggest probably.
Well, I'm glad we have a record since I can't remember.
Yeah, I would probably stick with Conte, but
it's a little stickier.
Was it season 11 that we did that?
All right, let's see. We've got 20 minutes to go. I think we'll be okay.
It was not season 11?
For my plans for the plants.
That was season 10. This is season 14, so that was a while ago. And who was the artist? Do you remember?
I think it was Surratt.
Surratt. Let's see here.
And of course, that would have been inspired by his charcoal drawings if I'm not making stuff up, imagining things.
In the description, it says, we'll use charcoal or Conte on white B stipple paper. So I think Ashley
a hard time
may have told me that it was either charcoal or Conte that he was going to use, and I'll have to watch the video to tell you for sure, but I'm not going to do that right now. It does, looking at it, it does look like you may have used Conte, actually.
Okay.
If you do use charcoal on the B stipple paper, then I would strongly suggest using compressed charcoal at the very least. The vine charcoal is just going to go everywhere. It's going to go into the little recesses that make this paper unique. So
you're not even going to see it.
Right.
Not even going to see that paper's texture. I've got a plan for these tall plants that I think will look okay for a sketch and move pretty fast.
Okay. let's see. Our faithful servant's question is, where do you start the videos as a beginner? Okay. I'm assuming you're talking about the videos that we offer as part of the program, the membership program. And there are 2 courses that you can start with either one. It's your preference, but I would recommend everybody who's brand new or wants a refresher, the best place to start is with these 2 courses. One course is called 25 Days to Better Drawings, and that course focuses on the concepts and fundamentals of drawing. So these are the things that you're going to need to know. We go through the elements of art, basically. So we start with line, we move into shape, form, value, texture, and every day you're taught a new concept, and then there's a reinforcement activity that is included with that concept. So you're taught the concept, and then if you do the reinforcement activity, then it's going to reinforce that concept, obviously. And so it's broken down into 25 days. So every day you learn something new, and what you learn on that specific day is a progression based on what you learned the day before. So at the end of the course, you will have a very strong understanding of the concepts of drawing. And at the very least, you should see a pretty dramatic improvement from the drawing that you create on day 1 and the drawing you create on day 25. You create the same drawing on day 1 and day 25 and compare them. You can see your growth.
What a great exercise.
So you can see your growth. The other course that I would suggest is the very first course that I ever created, and it's called The Secrets to Drawing. Now, that course is very extensive. There are 26 or 28 lessons. I can't remember. It's 26 or 28. And in that course, we do cover a lot of the core concepts of drawing, but we also go into some of the other mediums associated with drawing. So not only do we cover line, shape, value, texture, color, and space, but we also talk about pastels, oil pastels, pen and ink, charcoal. So if you want to get a little bit of exposure to the mediums associated with drawing, and also kind of a overview of the concepts of drawing, then start with the secrets to drawing. If you're more interested in diving deeper into the core concepts of drawing and really having a good understanding of how an artist looks at the world around them and how they capture that world in a drawing, then start with 25 Days to Better Drawings. So those are the 2 places that I would start. Now, there's also a class series. It's pretty old, but it's called Drawing Boot Camp. That's can be found under the classes over at the Virtual Instructor. That's also a good place to start. That is, I think, 4 lessons that were broadcast live, so about 4 hours long. But there's plenty of content for beginners. Then after you go through those courses, you can go into any of the mediums that you want to explore. We have several courses on colored pencils, a couple courses on pen and ink, several courses on drawing with graphite or pencil, pastels, oil pastels, and you can kind of start exploring what kind of mediums you want to explore. We also have courses for subjects like landscape, portraiture. So anyway, start with those classes and then explore from there.
All right, very good. So in the plants, they're kind of white shapes right now. And the way I'm treating them is to go into one of these larger white shapes and put in small dark shapes on the right side of our plant, staying away from most of the edges so that they feel like the little highlights. That's a lot of high contrast in these plants. And then on the portions of the plants that are on the left side of the stems, they're getting more black, not just shapes, but I'm following along the bottom edge of those branches and really blacken them out along the contour and then about halfway across each of these branches. And then a few little separate pointy shapes along the top edge of the branches on the left of our plants.
Now, earlier we were talking about recognizing the values that you see. I think it was Buddy that was asking about that. I do want to point out that Ashley has actually started with lighter applications and is going darker, which is always good practice when you're working with graphite. So even though we pointed out and recognized the dark values, they're not necessarily the first values that you put in. Although some artists like to start with the darkest values.
Yeah, I found them, like I found their shapes, but with more of a medium value. And then I've been going back as other portions of the drawing get darker. It's encouraged me to push the shadows in our hair darker still.
Buddy says 25 days to better drawings has taught me so much, Matt. I have never learned that much before in years at school. Well, thank you, buddy. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Rennie says 25 days to better drawings is great.
So there's a lot of I'm holding the pencil kind of tight. You know, sometimes we don't, you hold it loose and make nice flowy lines, but I'm making a lot of small marks, changing directions fast with sort of a scribbly feel to it. And, I hold my pencil pretty tight when I'm making those types of marks.
Rennie, Ashley says, your hair looks good. I'm sure you haven't heard that in years. I know, that's what I was thinking. I was like, there's no way Ashley hasn't heard that comment in years.
Say it again.
Now, Ashley, you guys don't know this, but Ashley used to have a huge head of hair.
That's right.
He had like so much hair; it was so thick.
It was
It was long
feature.
For a while. Yeah, it really was. Yeah.
I've had to reestablish my identity, ask myself existential questions about what it's all about and who I am since having lost my hair. And actually, I kind of like being bald.
You don't have to mess with it, right?
I would like being a little more bald. If most of it's going to come out, just finish the job. So yeah, it's pretty easy. Yeah. I like my new hairdo, although I don't get to change it much.
Guys, thank you for all your comments about the membership program. It's really encouraging to see how many people have benefited from it. And that you're putting comments in here for it, that too. That is, it's really cool. I really appreciate it.
All right. Well, we only have 11 minutes left, and we still have white in our paper, so we're going to have to keep going. I want to get back in the rabbit some more, but we're going to have to keep going with unaddressed areas, and then we'll just see where we land at the end of our program. So I'm going to go ahead and start putting some value marks, linear marks. I think I'm just going to go ahead and shade over it. Then we'll work in both directions with lighter and darker marks down here. I have left a couple little white spots, little long white shapes to act like some of that grass that's raised up right at the, I guess it's right in front of our rabbit. The focus really becomes blurry quickly after that. So it's almost like we have a little horizon of grass. And we'll make sure we don't lose that by leaving little bits of white, even though we're mostly putting a gray, medium gray down where the grass grows, everywhere below there. For starters. Some more little dark shapes in here. I don't know what kind of plants these are. Pretty dangerous. All right. A little bit darker. In this portion of grass that's in focus. Near the bottom of that portion. There we go. And then maybe just a little bit lighter than that for any grass that would be even closer to us, just to have a little bit of a change on our ground plane, light to dark, go the other way. It's not much of a difference in the reference, so we're kind of pushing that a little bit. All right, now we'll go ahead and do some mark making in here. You can see some distinct, what appears to be mark making near the top, but those are really just white shapes that have been isolated. And I'm going to put in some darker shapes now. I don't want to repeat the same kind of mark too frequently in terms of direction. Looks pretty messy down there.
You know, that's another thing I've noticed about this paper, and maybe you're noticing it as well, is it feels like the graphite just isn't as dark as it normally is.
Yeah, I agree. And, you know, it's because you can't get rid of all the white.
Yeah.
There's always a little bit of white, even in the darkest areas. So that's something to be mindful of. Your darks may not be quite as dark. And if you do really bear down and get as black as your pencil can go, you run the risk of having a little bit of a lack of unity, because the surface in that spot might look different than the rest, since we are using the surface as part of our look. All right, I'm going to go ahead and start erasing into here a little bit. Got the electric eraser, which doesn't do great on this paper because it's so slick. You know, I know that sounds strange. It's bumpy but slick, but it's got that plasticky feel to it.
Yeah, it's really whatever the paper is made out of that makes it slick. But it's not a slick surface at all. It's if you had it in your hands, you would definitely feel it. Again, this is made by a company called BEE. So it's not really a name that is, you know, super well known.
Now, along some of these lighter marks that I just made, I just like to put a really dark mark. Textures created with small light and darks close together, and some of these little grass blades that we're trying to indicate will feel a little bit more dimensional if they feel like they've got a light edge and a dark edge. So just going back and looking for some of those erasure marks from the electric eraser and put a little bit of a dark spot next to it. Maybe some small dark shapes in places. Start to try to indicate the empty space between some of these blades and maybe create the impression of denser grass.
Sandra says,
more dense.
Ashley, the hare rabbit looks really good. Brenda says, wow, Ashley, that already looks amazing.
Well, thank you. I'm glad it does already, because we're almost out of time. We only have 5 minutes to go, and I don't know if I'm going to make it back into the rabbit.
Yeah, but you know
he
what?
Looks okay.
Ashley does a really good job of making sure that he can complete the drawing in the allotted time. I, however, have difficulty with that,
Right.
as many of you have witnessed this season.
I feel like I'm going to get to the end, even if it's not as developed as I want it to be. I want it to be developed evenly, if that makes sense.
Yep. Totally
Sometimes,
does.
you know, I mean, studies in my own sketchbooks have incomplete areas because I'll slow down and spend time on parts that I find most interesting. Okay, 5 minutes left. I have made a little stencil. So maybe you're familiar with an eraser shield. You can lay it down and erase the spaces out, or up against it, make sharp eraser marks. But these are very geometric, very straight, and that's not like my grass at all. So using a piece of Mylar, it's kind of like plastic paper, I just went ahead and cut some shapes before the show started that are in different directions and a little bit smaller and thinner than what we saw in that metal store-bought eraser shield. So I'm going to just lay this down and start erasing over it a little bit. See if we can add to some of our texture.
This is a really good technique to use if you have to go back and make precise erasures. You can always make a template like Ashley's made here and erase out.
Just erase a bunch of little marks. And these are finer marks than my pencils make. And I'm going to flip it over just so I've got a whole different set of marks. I might turn it sideways and do a little bit of erasing. And then again, I'll look for a few of these marks that are distinct and put a dark mark right next to them. All right. So I can pick out some of these marks. I wasn't sure how that would work on the bead paper, but ended up using a pink eraser after saying I was going to use the black Factus eraser, but it was close at hand. So I grabbed it, did okay. Don't have to worry too much about eraser shavings anyway on this paper because it doesn't really want to smear.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. This paper is really tough. You could use a vinyl eraser, an electric eraser, and you would have to really work really hard to get through the paper.
I'll be interested. We can peel the tape off and just see if it does anything. Like, could it even tear this paper? Because I didn't tape my pants. I found.
I bet you'll have no problem tearing the tape off. Actually,
on this type of paper.
Yes,
that's my suspicion as well. All right, we'll just get a little darker wherever we think we can. Little bit of variance in the value on our rabbit's shadow, and our rabbit's shadow just doesn't look too flat. I've left a lighter passage in the middle of that.
Now, another thing to keep in mind when you're working on this paper is it does seem to kind of accentuate graphite shine a little bit. Have you noticed that, Ashley?
I haven't noticed.
If we go to the other camera, you can kind of see how shiny it is.
Oh, yeah.
You see if he puts his hand over it and kind of blocks the light a little bit, you can see values that are a little bit more accurate. Yeah, but
it's true.
It does seem to make the graphite a little more shiny. And I'm not really sure why that's the case, because you would think a flatter surface would make it more shiny instead of one that's textured.
All right, just a few little taps in there.
Jessica asks, what tool is used to cut out the shapes on the Mylar template? So what did you use to cut?
I used an X-Acto knife. Just a regular hobby knife or X-Acto knife. You can see how ultra thin they are. And it was a brand new X-Acto knife. All right, now I'm not sure if we can do the whiskers. Just not sure if we can put those in. I don't know if I'll be able to get a thin enough mark, but we'll try to put one in.
Catherine asked, nostrils shadow? Question mark? I'm not really sure.
Maybe this shadow here.
Yeah, maybe.
I'll put a few of these in and then try to thin them out with my pencil.
Yeah, you can see them a little bit. Definitely see those. I don't think you really need like too many of them or anything. Yeah.
Shape those a little bit and switch back to my darker pencil for the last. We'll go ahead and make that a bit darker. We're going to lose our rabbit's edge. Just a little bit more value here towards the middle of the chest. Over those shapes, just pull that together. Okay. All right, let's see now. Know where time is technically, it's up.
I think it's a good idea to put a little bit of variety in the background.
Yeah. Just a little bit.
With an image like this, though, you do want to make sure that there is separation between the background and the foreground. So if you work too much in the background and bring your values to a similar value to what you see in the foreground, you'll lose your rabbit. Yeah. So just be careful of that.
Yeah, I've gone a little light in the rabbit and a little darker next to the lights on the rabbit than what I see in the reference. All right. And maybe we'll just gloss over this foreground, just knock it back a little bit. And some of these branches, don't need white everywhere. Some do. Variety is the spice of life, so we want some branches that feel like maybe they're in the shadow of another. Yeah. All right. Well, I think that one that concludes our trip into my backyard where my rabbit lives, where my hare lives. All right.
We got to tear that tape.
Yeah, that's right. Got to tear the tape off.
We're going to
how
see
it
what
does.
happens here.
And are there any more questions?
No,
Okay.
just
Very
Charles
good.
says it looks really nice. Catherine says he looks regal.
Yeah. And I should have put a little crown on
The
it.
tasteful thickness says, is it wascally? Jen
Right.
says, love him.
I know, he's darling. All right, here we go. Let's see how the tape comes off. So
My guess is it's going to come off pretty easily, but we'll
zoom
see.
out just a touch. There we are. Okay, so low and away. Got
Oh, little tear.
a little bit of
That's
tear.
surprising.
little tearage. Of course, and I didn't tape my pants.
But it is not tearing the artwork,
No,
which
the
is what
important part is
matters.
the tears are tearing away from the artwork, so it really doesn't matter. This, the flange here, what's left, the border, would be taped to the back of a mat. If this piece is were to be framed, it would be in a mat, and the mat would go all the way to the edge of our drawing. So I like to have the border on there. It looks nice. But also it makes the framing a lot easier if you choose to do that. Oh my gosh, look at that. Lots of tearing. All right. So from now on, even with the green tape, this green painter's tape, still going to have to tape my shirt or my pants and reduce the adhesive strength.
And what Ashley is referring to is just taking the tape and taping your clothing before you put it to the surface, because that gets a little bit of lint, not only off your clothes, which is helpful, but it also puts a little bit of a barrier between the
There we go.
the tape and the paper, making it easy to tear apart or tear away when you're done. All right, like the border, it looks a lot better with that white border.
Yeah.
We see in the contrast, and that's, of course, important. Villa asked, where is the members chat, here or on Virtual Instructor? We do have a members live chat that goes on during the live broadcast that we do for members right after this show. That's not broadcast on YouTube. That is only on the Virtual Instructor. And there is a forum there too. So all you have to do is go to the website and click on community, and then you'll see under community is access to the forum. So, all right. A lot of hair jokes there. Here today, gone tomorrow. Yep. Hair. Someone said, I'm glad we're all here tonight.
Hair.
All right. Very good.
All right, very good. I'm going to stop touching it now.
June says hers tore a lot and had the blue tape. So
The blue tape. Yeah, I feel like the green tape is a little bit less tacky than the blue tape. So if you like painter's tape, and usually we just use regular masking tape, but this green tape is the green version of Painter's Mate green. So I like it.
okay. And Frankie points out that maybe using a hair dryer can heat the glue to help to release it a little bit. So that's a good tip. So thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, tilting it really helps
trying
us to see it without the shine
You
of
can
the graphite.
see there is a little bit of shine there, and it gets a little darker when we tip it up. Then, of course, it's distorted. So just a little bit of graphite shine here, which is par for the course when we're working with graphite.
All right. Jolly Rogers says, done by the hairs of our chinny chin chins. Very good. All right. I think that's it. We're going to go ahead and switch over.
All right, very good. Thank you. I hope you follow it along and you have a rabbit you're proud of.
All right, guys. Thanks for sticking around. If you did, we did have those drop frames early on in the broadcast, but it seems like that has resolved. Again, don't know if that was, a local internet issue here with us or something going on with YouTube, but nonetheless, we're here now and everything's good. So thanks for sticking around. Here's another good one. Charles says, let's not split hairs. They're all good. That's a really good one, actually. Ashley did a great job tonight. Next week, I will be doing the drawing, which will be the last drawing episode of this series. I have not picked out a song. I have not picked out a medium yet. I'm not sure if I'm going to repeat a medium that I've already worked with this season already or not. I have no idea what I'm going to do yet. But I will find a song.
A surprise.
And it will be a surprise for sure. It will be a surprise to all of us, including me. So we will see that next Wednesday evening. Ashley, do you have anything else for the folks?
Hope you guys have a great week. Can't wait to see you again next week. I'll be manning the chat, so bring your questions. I'll be ready.
Awesome. All right, for those of you guys who are going to be joining us over the virtual instructor in just a few minutes, we will see you then. For the rest of you, we will see you next week. Of course, we won't see you. We'll be looking at this camera. We'll be looking at the cameras, which is, if you've never looked at a camera and talked to it, it's somewhat of a strange experience. But I'll be talking to the camera and pretending like I can see you behind the lens. Either way, we look forward to seeing you next week, and we will continue on. So with that, we're going to go ahead and sign out for this evening. Good night, everybody.